Thank you, Vignesh. I'm going back to my presentation. Let me know if that is the one I'm
Yep.
sharing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining the event on a Saturday, and we are happy that you're here. I hope this session will help you in getting started with your first portal application. So, as part of this session, we are going to talk about the different components and configurations that you can do as part of your portal applications. So here the session title is Building Your First Power Apps Portal App. I'll show you how you can connect your application with the data which is stored as part of your Microsoft Dataverse instance and how you can pull up that data to show configuration on the screen or make it available to the users who are accessing it, either the internal users or the external users. First of all, a little bit about myself. I am Ritika Agrawal and I am a Microsoft MVP for business applications. Along with this, I am a Microsoft certified trainer as well. As part of my full-time job, I work as a Power Platform team lead for Applied Info Services India Private Limited. And along with all these, I am also the UG leader for Hyderabad Power Apps and Power Automate user group. For the user group, we usually try to do monthly meetups where we talk about and we communicate with each other to share information or the knowledge that we want to on the platform. And it's like a monthly recurring event. If you have any questions and you want to reach me out after this session or anytime, you can reach me out on Twitter. And I have pasted my Twitter handle on the screen here. So it's Agrawal_Ritika. Also, you can reach out me on my email ID, which is agrawalritika08@gmail.com. Apart from this, I have a blog site where I like to share the insights that I learned on the portal while working or any other capability on the Power Platform toolset. So if you want, you can check out my blog, and I hope you'll get some content there which could be useful in your use cases. All right. Let's see what we are going to cover in this session. So we'll see how you can get started with portals and what are the different configurations you need to have in place while building your portal application. Then we'll build a portal application from scratch, and I'll walk you through the already available templates and how you can make implementations on top of it. After that, we'll see an example of how you can enable user-based access pages. This means that, as we know, the portal application is available to all or for the external users to use. How can we enable security both at page level as well as the record level? We are going to see that. The last thing we are going to cover is for the portal migration, how you can, move your app from one environment to another. In the case of Canvas app or model-driven apps, you can do that through solutions. But for the portal app specifically, there are certain tools which are available, and you can use either of those to move your configuration across environments. So now let's see what a Power Apps Portals application is. So it's an external website which is available to us, and we have a URL for it. It can be accessible by anyone around the globe unless we have applied any restrictions on the IP address. So here, if you look at the picture, which is here on the screen, it shows that a single application, a single Power Apps Portal app, can be opened across different devices. And this in terms is also responsive. If I'm opening it on a mobile device, it is automatically adjusting the configuration, as in like it is showing the heading first and then the body text outside of it. If I look at the tablet mode, then it is, laid out in like a landscape mode structure. Same is the case with desktop. So by default, if you are using any of the configuration which is available out of the box, they are responsive. But let's say I want to add my custom code or my custom programming or anything like my custom design or something based on the organizations or the client which I'm working for, their design guidelines, then it's my responsibility to adjust that code according to the structure. But if I'm using anything out of the box, that will be automatically responsive. Like when we are working with Power Apps Portal, the first question we have in mind, why do we need a portal in this case? Why can I not just use a Canvas app, a model-driven app, or any other kind of application? So the reason why you should use Power Apps Portal is, let's say you want to build a website which you want to be accessed by external people as well, as in anyone with a URL, or you just share a URL and everybody should be able to access your application. In that case, you need a Power Apps Portal because it's an external website which can be accessed via URL, and it doesn't require you to have an Office 365 account. It's not a mandate unless you have like applied a condition where only allow people who have Office 365, but by default it is available to the whole world. You can say anyone across the globe can access it. So if you want to share your application with the whole world, then you can use a Power Apps Portal. Plus, it is integrated with Microsoft Dataverse. So if you have any other applications which are running on the same platform, like on the Power Platform stack, and you want to provide a front-end application which helps you, interact with the external users, and based on the information that you have collected from those external users, you may want to, apply some logic or operations on that data and use it internally. In that case, what you can do is you can build a Power Apps Portal, share it with the external users, and once you have like data, whatever they have input, you can utilize that data inside your internal applications and make use of it. So this is like a front end application to your administrative data where the people from inside the organization can manage it from the back end. But you're providing a medium to external users where they can see and they can interact with an application using a front end, and it can be accessible via a URL. Let's take an overview of the Power Apps portals. As I have already mentioned that, this is an external facing website which can be accessed via a URL. And you are also able to perform any CRUD operations that you can do on data which is stored in Microsoft Dataverse. So based on the permissions, you can set whether you want to, only allow create operation or read operation or update or delete, or like any two or three of those or all of those. That's totally in the granular level of what kind of permissions you want to assign to that data or to that user which is logging in. So these kinds of permissions, they are, entertained by the entity permissions. So you set it on a table level, or if you want, you can specify, like if you want to apply it globally. Globally means it will be, allowed to everyone, or it will show all data based on the view you have selected. But let's say you want to apply a condition that only show me the records where the contact is current logged in user. Then you can also apply that kind of entity permission, and it will only show those records where the contact person or the contact field is current logged in person. This way, you can have different kind of entity permissions applied. We'll take a look at these in some time while we are moving on to demos. So I have a demo prepared for the entity permissions as to how you can apply those and use them across the application. Then there comes the anonymous access. As I have mentioned before as well, this is accessible to anyone in the world. So you don't really have to be logged in to access any page. If I have a URL, I browse to it, it will be open. Unless I have applied any page restriction that only the logged in person, or if anyone is logged in, then only they'll be able to see the page. No, but if I have not applied any such condition, the pages will be accessible or viewable by anyone who is opening the link. An example of such page is home page. So when I'll open my the URL, I'll try to show you how you can use it anonymously as well as an authenticated user. Then next we have reusable web templates. Web templates are pieces of small code or any content that you want to add in your web pages. So there are a number of out-of-the-box templates available. But if you have a custom requirement or you want to build it according to your design guidelines, then you can anytime create a web template. And this is a reusable piece. So you don't have to really create it for every page or every place that you want to use it for. You can create a template. And with the help of Liquid programming language, you can reference it at all places, like wherever you want to display on a single page or maybe on a set of pages, you can use a single template on that. By default, there are a number of things that you can do in Power Apps portal, but as this is a growing platform, there might be some things which are, not according to the custom guidelines that you have or the features that you want to build. In any such case, you can anytime use the capability of HTML and JavaScript. You can embed your own code, and if there is any out of the box code which you want to edit or which you want to perform updates on, you can write JavaScript or jQuery code, anything that you want as part of those pages. And it will, like whenever that page will be loaded, it will load the JavaScript or jQuery script that you have written, and it will render it on the controls which are available. So by default, there are a number of things that you can do. But by any chance, if those out of the box things are not fulfilling the requirement, then you can extend the capability with the help of scripts. I'll show you some examples of these as well when we deep dive into the session. Let's talk a little bit about the authentication mechanism, because this is really important when it comes to Portals app. Because by default, I understand that we want to, since it's an external facing website, we want to share it with the world. But there are certain cases where we want to restrict some data, as in, let's say it's a request response system, a customer management system. So as an anonymous user, I should be allowed to go and create requests. But let's say I want to view all the requests which are created by me. Okay, so there can be one request, there can be a number of requests which I have created. So in those cases, for maintaining the security of data, I should have a restriction in place where only show this data to, let's say, logged in user. And by the logged in user context, I'm fetching which contact should I be using, because anything which is going on in the Power Apps portal, it is managed using the contact reference. So even if you're logging in as a Azure AD user or any third party provider user, a contact record will be created, and we manage everything on top of it. So here are certain mechanisms that we can use. The first one is register and login. So the portal app by default provides us a feature where we can register, as in we can provide a username and a password of our choice by entering certain other details like name, email, and so on. We'll be able to register. And next time I want to, log in and see my details, I can just go and log into the application. This is register and login is applicable when the user, himself or herself navigates to the app and register themselves. But second thing is like invitations. Let's say I want to invite people to my application, that, I have built an application and there is an invitation or redemption code. So I can generate that redemption code and share it with the people. And when they try to, log in or redeem their invitation, they do not have to, create that account from scratch. They can use the redemption code and log in easily. Then for the internal users or the people who exist in our Azure AD, there is a feature for logging in using the Azure account. So there is a by default option for logging in through Azure AD. And there are certain other third-party authentication providers as well, which you can enable. So by default, they are not enabled, but if you want, you can enable that anytime. And those include like LinkedIn, Microsoft, and other providers as well. Let me show you how this looks on the portal side. So let me go to the portal I have built. And I'll navigate to the sign-in page to show you how it looks on the site by default and what are the other options that you can add. So if I click on sign-in, this is the sign-in page. The sign-in page here, I have, if I already registered, then I can enter my username and password and I'll be good to go and I can sign in easily. But let's say, I have not registered and I want to redeem my Azure AD account. In that case, here is a button that I can click and it will automatically link it with the person I'm logged in. So here in my Office 365 account, if I'm logged in with this account, it will automatically sign me up and create a contact for me. But let's say I do not exist in this. So here is like, there is an option for register as well. I need to input my email, username, and password. Once I do that, if I click on register, I'll be logged in and an account will be created for me. It will ask for some other details like username and all those, but you can enter those and your account will be good to go. It's like one-time process. The second option that we saw for redeem invitation, it's here. So if someone has invited me to this portal app, so let's say I have this RA portal test and someone has invited me to this, I have an invitation code. I can input it here. And if I click on register, it will allow me to log in. And it will again ask me for similar details like what is going to be your name, what is your username, and if you want to set any password. Because redemption is a one-time process. So once that code is used, you can you have to add some details for the next login. But let's say these are not enough. I have register, I have redeem, and I have the Azure AD. But let's say these are not enough. What do we do in that case? So here we have certain other options which are available. So when you have created like a portal application, you can click on these three dots, and in settings, you can go to authentication settings. So here, let me reopen. I think that page is open for a while. So I'll go back here. In settings and authentication options. Okay, I don't know why it's not opening. I'll just retry this. 1 second. So this is a preview version that I'm opening right now. So here I can see if there are any features which are currently in preview, you can navigate to this URL and view those. So I'll try to open it from here, the authentication mechanism page. Okay, settings. So right now it's not opening, but let me tell you verbally that how it is going to look like. So here, if you see the URL, it shows that it is linking to all the providers. Here, what you need to do is you need to select an individual provider. Let's say I want to go with the Microsoft account. This one right here, Azure AD, is going to log into the person for the same tenant. So if I have account in this BTD MPPYA tenant, then I'll be able to log in. But let's say I don't have an account in this tenant. I have account in another tenant or even a Microsoft account that I want to use. In that case, in the providers list, I can go and I can select Microsoft. It will ask me to create an application registration in Azure AD. So once I do that, it will create a reference. And along with this Azure AD button, there will be another button for Microsoft. If you click on that, instead of authenticating right away with your logged in account, it will ask you that which account you want to proceed with. And once you have selected the specified account, it will log in you and you'll be asked again. So there is like a profile page. Let me log in from here. So right now, because I have clicked that Azure AD button, it is recognizing my Azure AD account and it has logged me in. So here is like a profile page that I can view and I can, drill in. So it asks usually for first name, last name, email, and you are good to go from here. Once your account is set up, no need to register or anything again. You'll be able to log in. But now let me go back to my PPT and let's proceed because how we can, enhance the capabilities with the Liquid programming language. So let's say I have done my authentication, but now I want to show my data of what details I want to show from my Microsoft Dataverse instance. So by default, you can use views and forms to list out that data. But if in any case, due to some filters or any custom design, you can embed Liquid programming language and you can use Fetch XML to get data from your tables. So it's an open source template language which is integrated with portals, and you can write script that fetch data from your data source. So it's like a read operation, and if you want, you can get details or data from linked entities and any kind of relationship. and whatever data is returned, or the output, it is in the form of JSON data that you can use across different HTML pages or any web pages, or even templates as well. If you want to learn more about the Liquid programming language, here are some references that you can refer. So it's a Microsoft documentation link. You can view what all different Liquid template programming tags are available. And this is helpful in cases when you are trying to write a custom code or something like that. One important thing to know about Liquid programming languages, let's say you have written a fetch XML, but what about a case where you want to tell that what data to fetch? So when you're working with Liquid, make sure that you have the appropriate entity permissions in place. So with all the permissions set, you'll be good to go with the Liquid, whatever you have written. Now, let's see a little bit on how we can, work through that portal, or what changes do we need to make. So let me play a video first on how you can create an environment for the portal's application, or when you start building a portal application, what are the first steps that you need? So here I went to the make.powerapps.com and I went into create new Power App and then app. By default, if there's like you don't have a database installed in the environment, it will ask you to create a new environment. But if you have an environment already created, you can go and click on that portal application. It will ask you for the URL and password, not password, URL, and what language you want to have it in. So here I'm creating an environment directly. So I've given the environment name, region, environment type. Then it will ask me like what kind of environment or what kind of database I want to have it in, which language and which currency. So those details, once I have selected, it will create an environment. And if you see here, there is a checkbox for include starter portal. So if I have enabled, I'm sorry, Vignesh, can you please mute? Okay, thank you. It's fine now. So by default, if you want to include a starter portal is the template portal that you can start with. So the one we saw earlier where I showed you the sign in button and all, it is the starter portal. So that is the portal which is available by default, and you can build the configuration on top of it. Okay. So once your portal is created, it will create an environment and you can go and build that portal from scratch. I already have one portal in my environment, so I won't be able to create another. So let's say if I go here and I go back to make.powerapps.com. And if I go to apps, let me show how it looks when you try to create that portal. So right now I only have one portal available in my environment, so it will not allow me to create a second one. But let me show you what it asks. So it should have a name and email a web address or a website address. So by default, the domain is .powerappsportals.com. But if you want to include any custom domain, you can do that as well. So you'll have to upload some files and register that domain. And once you do that, you're good to go with using a domain of your choice. So once you provide these details here and select the language, you can click on create. It will validate and build that portal for you. When you're creating a portal, it might take some time to provision it fully. It could take around 45 minutes or something, because it installs a number of solutions along with it. So if I am opening the solutions here, you can see that there are a number of solutions associated to portal. You don't have to install them individually, but when you create your first portal, these are the ones which are automatically installed. So once your portal is installed, you'll have two applications in place. One is the portal management, and this is a model-driven app. And another one is my portal, because that's what I have given my portal a name, my portal. So if I open this portal management app, it's a place where I can manage the configuration of this portal app that I have created. So here, my RA test portal test is completely managed by my portal management app. So whatever data or whatever pages I am creating, it's all stored as part of tables. So those tables I can access from the portal management app, and I can look at individual components which are available. So I'm just waiting for this to open. Okay. So here my left navbar is loaded. So I'll start with that and we'll see how you can link different components together. So the first one here is websites. Websites is a place where it's a component that we use. Like here I have starter portal, but let's say I have multiple sites and I want to, toggle or switch between those different websites. So think of it like website is a parent component and which is linked to a specific portal URL. So this RA portal test is linked to my starter portal. Whatever pages or whatever configuration I have in my different these forms, lists and pages and access management and all those things, they are related to this website. Let's say if I have this website and this is the home page. In any case, I have another home page and I want to switch it to that, or I have another website. In the website bindings, we can specify which website to link with a specific URL. So here, if my URL is RA portal test and I want to link it to starter portal, then I can specify a binding here, which includes what website I'm talking about and what is the URL I'm talking about. In case you have different website that you want to refer to this URL, you need to change the website bindings, and from there it will render the new portal. Then we have page templates. Page templates are basically what will be displayed as part of individual web pages. By default, there are certain page templates which are available, like full page or page with child links. And if you open any of these, there will be either a rewrite URL associated with it or a web template. Web template is a place where you actually write that code of what needs to be displayed as part of it. We'll go to web templates once we scroll through this list. So I'll cover the first components first. So then we have redirects. So let's say in a case you want to specify a redirect that, if someone has come to this page and I want to move them to a specific URL or, anything, then I can specify it in the redirects. Then we have site markers. So site markers is like a place where you can specify that, if I ever use this name, let's say home, take me to the home page. If I ever refer to as page not found, then take me to page not found. Here, the reason we use site markers is, let's say in a case, I am not sure that, my URL, it's going to be the same or it's going to change. In that case, if I have hard coded it anywhere, and let's say I change that URL 2 or 3 months down the line, I have to go in and update it at individual places, making that, okay, now wherever I have used the anchor, I want to change the reference. But with the help of site markers, if you pass these site markers in those anchors, and even if you change that, partial URL 100 times, because it's linked to the page and not to the URL, you don't have to really make that change. You can create a site marker and use it that way. Then we have certain site settings. So in these, we have settings like if I want to allow a certain set of things. Let's say I don't want to allow the users to register from this portal application. There is a site setting that I can, disable that will, stop me from stop the users from registering onto this portal app. Similarly, there are certain other settings which are available, like if you want to connect it to Facebook, you want to set an authentication parameter to Facebook, then what is the app ID, app secret? So whatever I was trying to show you on the portal and the providers, this for all of the providers which are available, we have separate site settings, like what is the app ID and what is the secret. Through these, it will authenticate, and you will be able to, add that authentication mechanism as well. This is for the registration, but there are certain other site settings for searching or for setting up the profile or online domains, anything. So for most of the configuration, it's there. By default, the site settings are available. Then we have settings which work at the site level, where we have like package import completed, because I have created this portal. Then this shows me the package which is like import, for which the import is complete. For the content side, we have certain other things. Content snippets are small pieces of code that you can write, or I mean, not just code. If you want to, refer some text, which can be, just updated at one place, and you want to use that same text everywhere. An example is the footer. So if I go to my application, here is a footer. I mean, right now I don't have a very big footer here, or a branded footer, but this copyright, then the trademark, and then 2021 is here. If I go to the content snippet of this footer, I can see what code is there in the backend. And as a developer, I have not written this because this is out of the box. This footer content snippet is available by default. If you want, you can make changes to it, or you can update any part of it. You can save it and clear the cache. So let me show one thing before I move on. If you are an administrator to this portal, you can clear out the cache by pasting the URL, whatever your unique URL is, then underscore services, and then slash about. If I do that, and I am logged in as a person who is an administrator. So right now, I am logged in as Ritika Agrawal, and I am the administrator, so I can see this page. But let's say I copy this URL and I try to open it in an incognito mode, where there is no reference to the logged in context, or I haven't logged into the app basically. So here, this page is not opening anything, and I cannot clear the cache or whatsoever. So those kind of things are only restricted to administrators. If I clear the cache here, whatever changes I have made as part of these content snippets inside the portal management app, they will be reflected on my portal here. So this is what, I mean, I have not made any changes right now, so it's not showing. But if you make these changes in the content snippet, you'll be able to access those. And not just for the footer, there are certain, again, out of the box available, which are used in header, footer, and like even the title of these pages. So for those, the content snippets are available by default, and you can create any new content snippet anytime. Then we have entity forms. So think of a scenario where you're working with the Microsoft Dataverse instance, and you want to display data as part of it. So here in the entity forms, you connect it to a form which is there on the table, and you specify like which record to show, if it is going to be an edit mode or if it is going to be a new mode. And similarly, it will show the record. When you want to display a list of those items, then you can use the entity list, and it refers to a view. So you can specify a view, and with the help of it, you'll be able to list out certain set of data. And if you link it with the entity form, you'll be able to see details inside of individual. Then we have shortcut. Shortcut is useful in these cases. Let me see if we have any. Yes. So here, if I click on services and I want to, display it like a drop down kind of a thing, I can specify a shortcut, and it will be displayed in my application. Then we have web files. If you want to include any file as part of your application, then you can use web files. We have web forms. So entity forms, difference between the two is entity forms can only be linked to one entity at a time. But if you want to have a step-by-step process, then you can use web forms, and you can associate multiple tables with it. And with the help of that, you can, create like a guided experience for user, so that they fill first entry and then they navigate to second page and they fill out the details there, kind of a thing. Then we have web link sets. Web link sets is like a navigation, or you can say a list of things. So here where I have home, services, about us, this is a web link set. where I'm specifying that, there are going to be, let's say, 10 items, and here we have 5 or something like that. And what pages do I want to, refer them to? So these pieces are web link sets. Then, right now we are building this portal in English, but let's say I want to include it for other languages as well. So people from around the world can access them and understand what's written there. So there are a number of portal languages which are available. So if you want, you can add those languages as part of your portal, and there will be individual pages, created for those. So the URL will be something like slash and then your language code, whatever is written here. Then we have web pages. Web pages, as we all know, is a key component of this site or this portal app, wherein we specify what the page will look like and what are the different components. So if I open this home page, the partial URL is slash because that's the root page. And here we have specified a page template. So whatever templates that are available, we have specified that, okay, only use the default studio template and, render the page accordingly. Then these page templates are associated with individual web templates at times. So if you want, you can create your custom web template at any point of time. So if I, let's say, let me open the full page one. So here, as you can see, this is like all out of the box. You don't have to write anything. I mean, this looks like code, but you don't have to really write it unless you want to, customize it. By default, this is the full page. And if you want, you can extend this full page as well. So right now I'm expanding layout one column template. And I have added certain other things that, if there is a page copy element, which is there in the web page, then include it. And if there are any entity list or entity forms or web forms, anything like that, I am specifying, what is the order of those items to be displayed. So similarly, if you want, you can create any number of web templates of your choice, and you can link those with different templates as well. When it comes to security, we have certain things here. We have contacts. So these will be the person who are, logging into the portal. So here, because I am the only user who is using this portal right now, I have a contact associated to me. And with this, if you have more than those, you can, there will be contacts added and you can manage individuals. Then we have entity permissions. So if I want to use any data or if I want to get any data from Dataverse and I want to apply permissions on top of it, then I can apply those. So let's say, let me open one where I have this. Okay, I'll open this access management. So this is a table that I have, and I'm specifying that, apply it on this entity, access management. And the website is going to be starter portal, the one that we are using. And scope I have assigned to contact. If I want, I can set it to global as well. Global means all the records will be accessible. The contact means that it will only show the records where the contact, this specific field, this is the relationship name here, but the specific field is equal to current logged in user. If I am logged in as Ritika Agarwal, then I'll be able to see the access management records where the contact is Ritika Agarwal. But let's say I logged in as person ABC. In that case, I will not be shown any records until they exist. Then we have privileges, like what kind of privileges you want to assign. So if you want to just give read out access, you can do that. Then there is write, create, delete, append to. So all these kind of privileges, you can control what an individual person can do. Then we have invitations. If you want to invite someone to this portal, you can create an invitation here, and it will generate that redemption code for you. Then we have publishing state transition. So it is something like draft or published. Only those things will be visible on the page where you have them as published. Then we have web page access management. This controls, what pages will be available to, what people. So if I have Ritika Agarwal as logged in user and I have the administrator account, I can specify that, administrators have access to change the content on homepage. So if I go to homepage, this window right here is here because I am the administrator and I have a web page access control available to me. If you want to restrict people from accessing different pages on your this site, let's say I want this about us page to be only accessed by the logged in user. Then I can specify something like this here. So let's say I'll add it on the go. Restrict about us to authenticated. Okay, then let's say I select the site as start a portal, web pages, about us. Right, I want to say restrict read, that they should not be able to read it. And okay, save. Then I want to specify that, which users will come under this category. First, let me publish it. Published. And then I'll go to web roles and I'll add the administrators and authenticated users. I don't want to allow the anonymous users, so I'm just leaving those. I'll give this a refresh. I'll do a clear cache. So I'm clearing the cache because that way my changes will be applied right away. It will not wait for the caching limit to be over. So by default, it usually get refreshed in 15 minutes. So right now I'm logged in, and let's say I try to open this URL in, okay, I maybe copied the wrong one. Okay, about us. I don't know why it's not updating the URL. Yeah, this is the one. So here I have tried to log into the About Us page, for which I have applied a restriction that only logged in users or authenticated users should be able to log in. So as soon as I browsed to that URL, it took me to the sign in page that okay, sign in is required and you should authenticate the user first. So that's about the web page access controls, and you can select which user will be able to access what page. Then we have web roles. Web roles is how we specify which kind of role a specific person would have. So these roles can be assigned to the contact record. So when I log in, I created a contact record is created for me. And then I can assign those web roles here. Then we have website access permissions. So here, if you want to specify that, what kind of permissions you want to specify to individual users, as in like the administrators should have access to manage content snippets or site markers, web link sets, or those kind of things. So as an administrator, I'm allowed to do these things. But if I'm not an administrator, I will not be able to manage content snippets or other things unless I have a website access permission here. Then if you want to add any ads or polls on your portal app, then you can add it from here with the ad placements and poll placements. There is one other thing like create portal configuration. So if you want to create like a web page or something from here, then you can create that portal content and it will be created. Like if you're not comfortable doing it directly on the tables, like as a record, there is an option to create a content and it gives you like a UI or thing. Last thing, if you want to apply any, portal analytics on this site, then you can use the portal analytics. And in here, you can embed any code. So let's say if you want to, connect it with Azure Log Services or anything like that, you need to provide the snippet for your analytics provider here. And every time that page is loaded, it will, capture that value, and if you have connected it to a, let's say, Azure Log Analytics, it will store the values there. So that kind of integration is also available. Now let me quickly show you an example of how okay, I don't see my desktop down here. Okay, that's strange. Okay, leave it. Next, I have to show you is how you can show data as part of these tables. So let's say if you want to get data from a table, then you can go and create an entity list here. So let's say show records. Okay. And I want to say that I want to see records from my table that I created earlier. So not preview. I'll open my environment and look up for the table name. So I'll go to data and then tables. Okay, this is not the right environment. Like whenever you are working with portals and opening these pages, make sure you're always in the right environment. Okay, so now I have one entity called, okay, let me just filter by custom. I just created it today. Yeah, products. So I have a table which is there and the name is products and I have certain data inside of it. So let me go back to my entity list here and let's say products. Website is going to be starter portal and let's say the view that I add is active products. Okay. By default, I want to show 10 records. So that's what I have written here. I'm just going to save it and let me, assign it to a page somewhere. So here I'll go and I'll create a web page. Okay, so let's say products. Okay, then I'm going to say that, site is this, partial URL is products, page template is my full page. And here it is throwing an error because I have not specified a parent page here. If I select it as home, then my URL is accepted. Publishing status published. Okay, and I save it. And here we have a column for adding the entity lists as well. So once it is getting saved, I'll add the entity list again to the one that I just created. So I have this show record, which I just created, and I'll click on save. I'll clear out the cache and I'll go back to this and copy this partial URL. My page is refreshed and I'll paste it here because home is the parent. So URL is going to be whatever your, your content is and then the product. So here it is not rendered just yet. Let me see if it was saved. Okay, it was not saved. If I refresh this, okay, still not showing. I think it's not included in this web template. Let me change the page template. I don't default studio. Let's see. So sometimes it's like when you add that configuration, it may take a few minutes to reflect, and these web templates also control the way this page will be displayed. So if the content is not included in there, it will not be displayed. I think I have another page that I can show you. Okay, not this one, page 2. Test page 2. Okay, so here I have an entity list which is like getting displayed here, and by default it's showing all the records right now. So let me navigate to that entity list, this test 1, 2, 3, and this is showing all the records. But let's say I want to restrict it to certain set of records only. So what I'm going to do, I am going to enable the entity permissions. I'll save it, and I'll go and check the entity permissions as well as to what permissions I have applied. So this is that, and I have the permissions which are on the basis of account. So account means that whatever logged in user's account is, so it is associated to the contact record. So whatever there is, it will only show those. So here I have linked it via a parent. I am getting all the parents in this account thing, and I have specified the relationship name. So if I go and again clear the cache and I refresh this test page too, these should, restrict to what number of records I am seeing here. Yes. So the number is reduced. It is only showing me those records where, because test account one is associated with my logged in user, so it is showing those records. And parent account means because this test parent account is parent of test account one, so it's showing that. But if we want, we can restrict those as well. I can only show the details which are associated to my logged in user. So this way you can.
Ritika, just quick time check. You have 5 more minutes left.
Yes, Vignesh, I'm almost done.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. So this is how you can restrict data on these pages, as well as how you can, restrict the pages individually based on users. So this About Us page is only available to authenticated users. Then you have specified like a web page access control, and then if you want to restrict it on the basis of data, then you can use the entity permissions. Next up, I have like a last slide here on the portal configuration. So if you want to export your configuration across different environments, there is a tool called CRM Configuration Manager, and you can select like what is the source environment and what is the target environment that you want to use, and whatever you can pick what kind of data you want to move. Let's say you want to move all the web pages and all those. So CRM Configuration Manager is the tool that you can refer. Then after that, we have also certain tools available in XRM Toolbox. So if you want to, work with portal applications, you can use the portal code editor. It allows you to, edit individual pages. One way is on the portal management app, of course, but if you want, you can use the XRM Toolbox for that. So code editor is for editing the configuration, and record mover is for, migrating configuration from one place to another. So CRM Configuration Manager is one, and Records Mover is the second option. That's all I have. If you have any questions, we can take a look at those. In the meanwhile, you can also fill out this survey, and you can get a chance to win cool swag. So please fill out the survey, and if you have any feedback for us, please feel free to mention it there. Finally, I would like to thank our event sponsors who have made it possible to organize this event, and thank you so much for extending that hint. And lastly, I want to thank all our event organizers as well for organizing this such a amazing event. Thank you so much for attending, and now I'll go on the chat and look for the questions if you have any.